In July 2018, two women alleged they'd been drugged and sexually assaulted at Italian restaurant Venuti by Roberto Jazz. The 18-year-old said Jazz had enticed them to the restaurant from nearby Mama Hooch bar with an offer of free drinks. They said that when they got there, he offered them a white powder and assured them it was a drug called MDMA.
They both admitted to us that they consumed some drugs before going out, some MDMA, and they're feeling good. So they know what MDMA does. They know the effects of it. However, they said that the white powder that you supplied them definitely wasn't MDMA. It doesn't have the same effect, and that it's had a strange effect on them. And they've said that you supplied it to them.
I've got no idea why they would say that, personally.
Not only did Jazz deny supplying the woman any drugs, he said he could only remember one of them being at Venuti. He'd invited her there to use the toilet.
What else went on that night while you were down there?
Not a lot. I mean, if I can keep this confidential, she sort of said to me she likes me. She's attracted to me. And then she began sort of like obviously to kiss me and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, obviously it was a bit sort of awkward. And then from that point on, she just snapped out of it, and just I got this mark on my neck from her.
Which mark?
There's a mark on my neck
from
her, which I didn't think too much of. But then she was like, "Oh, I gotta go," and then she left. And I was just like, "Are you all right? Do you need a taxi or anything?" And then she had left, and that's why I was a bit sort of confused.
As the detective pushed for more details about what happened at Venuti, Jazz's story evolved. He said the woman had given him oral sex, but he wasn't allowed to reciprocate.
I thought it was consensual, and then obviously I started to grab her, and it wasn't in a violent way for her to then scratch me. It was more like it felt right.
The woman who Jazz said he couldn't remember being at the restaurant painted a different picture, the detective said.
She remembers you being on top of while she's been lying in a booth with her skirt pushed up.
Wow.
And you were grinding down on and then she remembers saying, "Stop it," to you, and then you saying, "No, come here, it's fine." Explain that.
So that's a blur to me, that part. I don't recall that happening. I recall it happening in the back room, not on the booth seat.
Has then gone on to explain that she was confused due to the drug that she consumed that you'd offered her before, but she remembers you putting more powder in her mouth, and she was not capable of controlling what was happening to her. Explain that. You said that you don't recall her being there, and then she said that you placed white powder in her mouth. Can you explain that? Yeah,
this is where I'm sort of confused in the night, you know, as to what physically happened down there between me and as I said, I don't recall there being a third person.
The detective said the woman who Jazz admitted taking to the bar said he'd been rough with her. She'd told police he'd bitten her and pulled her hair, he said.
And has had a medical examination, and as part of that examination she has bite marks on her stomach and round bruises on her left shoulder of about a 2 centimetre diameter, and a number of bruises and scratches on her back consistent with her statement.
That's very disturbing for me. It doesn't sound like me.
No, so I think you need to tell me exactly what's happened, because
to be honest, as I said, I had been drinking, so as I said, you know, I'm amongst the night, you know, I have vague memory of what happened. You know, I remember bits and pieces. I mean, obviously it stacks up because I've said the times, where I've been, where I've gone. But obviously, drinking, I must have been probably heavily intoxicated then.
Yeah. What is also inconsistent is that you said you don't recall her being there.
Mm-hmm.
However, she said that while she was there at Venuti with you, she's consumed this powder. It's hurt her throat and her nose, and that she remembers that you were on top of her with your pants down, and her pants were also down.
Yeah, that's the part I can't recall.
So wouldn't you recall if there were two people present or not?
Yeah, that's what's got me confused. You know, I'm not actually legitimately telling a lie. I'm just saying that, hey, look, may have, you know, been a bit drunk. You know.
Okay. So
I could have potentially had something put in my drink. I don't know, which has made me sort of losing.
Obviously, Venuti's been sealed off, and it's going to be examined today. And we'll be looking for all sorts of things like DNA for them, and drug residue, all that kind of stuff. So, knowing that, and knowing that we're going to do examination, is there anything you want to say?
No. From my point of view, it was consensual, and I didn't feel like it was forceful in any way, because obviously if I wanted to be more forceful, like, anything could have happened. But
in April, Roberto Jazz was found guilty of drugging and sexually assaulting the woman, along with a raft of other charges.